Well, we're live once again here on the 307 podcast. What's up, YouTube? It's been a while, man. We missed last week. I had recorded a interview with Justin Hamilton last week, and we released that on the audio platform. Our tech guy was not in studio to support the filming of that episode.
He's working on the Sabbath, man.
So we missed you guys last week, man. What's up, YouTube? We got anybody watching?
Yeah, Anthony H. said, "What's up, YouTube?" before you even said it.
YouTube, I got some stuff for y'all here in just a minute. Y'all better stand by, all right?
We got the rent collector on here.
Rent collector, what's up, man? Anthony, what's up? It's good. Glad y'all are here. What's up, Chill? We got Chill in the house. Tech guy in the house. Tech guy made his bi-yearly Instagram post yesterday. Good job.
Thank you.
Good job. Appreciate that. Hey, have you ever seen the people who, it used to be the thing, the people who get the mustache tattooed on the inside of their index finger right there and they do like this?
I've seen it.
I really like that. I mean, the tattoo doesn't last very long, though. It ends up wearing off. I had a bunch of buddies in the Navy that got that, and after like a year, the tattoo was worn off. It's crazy. I was just thinking you guys should consider getting one of those tattoos since you can't grow a mustache. Your facial hair sucks.
No, I don't think I'll get that on account of I have nuts.
I like that tattoo, man.
No, that's a very odd thing to do.
Hey, Anthony H. said he's using his PTO to watch this podcast. You better make it worth it.
PTO? Oh,
paid time off.
Oh, paid time off. Anthony, I thought you were retired, man.
Chad don't even know what PTO is, man.
I thought you were living that retired life, man.
You are out of touch, aren't you? Golly, how out of touch have you gotten?
Look, what did Jonah say the other day?
I don't know.
Remember when he come down, he was asking, "What are you doing in the day?" You was talking about you done watched a 1 hour documentary twice, and
well, yeah, I was reviewing the documentary.
Must be nice to be that rich.
Yeah,
man.
y'all think
he don't even cut his grass anymore.
Jeez.
Yeah, okay.
How out of touch are you, dude?
I'll tell you what, guys.
What's PTO, man?
You know what? You
work a job?
You know what? All of you guys can't see. None of y'all. Everybody's already forgotten. The 12 years old Chad spent at the hands of the ruthless U.S. government where he did absolutely nothing that he wanted to do and pretty much just made freaking peanuts, pocket change, enough to barely pay the bills, doing the most dangerous freaking job on earth, couldn't hunt, couldn't fish, couldn't go anywhere, couldn't do nothing but what the stinking, stupid government wanted me to do. I did that for 12 freaking years of my life. Every single stinking day. So screw all you guys, man. Paid time off.
Nuff said. This podcast
haven't had no
over.
stinking paid time off, man. The crap is that?
Aaron Dana said he's headed down to Tennessee.
Well, I might see you there.
What does that mean?
I might see Aaron Dana in Tennessee.
Huh.
Yeah.
Did you hear that, Aaron?
This depends on what my running coach tells me to do.
Who's your running coach?
Chili.
Is that true, Chili?
No.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of what Jonah said about the 1 Mile Out film, if you guys don't know, I don't guess we've talked about it on YouTube. The 1 Mile Out film is live on the 307 Project Patreon, which, by the way, this podcast is brought to you by Patreon. We have over 500 members on Patreon. It's a community. It's not a fan club. And we put the 1 Mile Out full film on the Patreon page last week. So if you want to watch it, go sign up for Patreon. You can watch it for $5. You can just join the $5 tier and get on there, and you got access to all the Nuff Said podcast episodes, the documentary, all kinds of crap. And we'll release that live on YouTube July 1st. So mark your calendars. July 1st. And it's worth watching. It's my favorite piece of content that we've ever put out, personally. Now, I might be biased because when I watched that film, by the way, the film documents my journey along the way on the Cocodona 250, the race that we ran. Features Chili, Blake, James, Brooke, all your favorite personalities here at 307 Project are featured in that documentary. It's not just about running. It's got a bunch of outlaw tourism in it. It's got a bunch of stuff, Chili talking crap about me. It's got all kinds of good stuff you guys will love in it. But I think it's a wonderful film. Made possible, by the way, by Hoist and Barbell. We got daggone partners here. Y'all wonder, man. I know y'all get tired of being sold junk on YouTube and being sold junk on Instagram. I know you get tired of seeing advertisements. Like, I get it, man. I get tired of it too. You scroll through Instagram now, like every third thing is trying to sell you something, right? The reason that we have partners is because we can do more if we have partners. We can do more for you. I want y'all to understand how the relationship works, okay? So this race we went to run, I hit Barbell up and I was like, hey guys, I'm going to run this race. I think it would be really cool for you guys, viewers, to be able to see what happened. And I said, I'm going to run this race. Do you understand how much it costs to film a documentary like we just filmed? It's over $20,000. Way over $20,000 to create this film. To have the videographers come out, then to put it all together. Like, it's a substantial investment. I don't have that extra money. But guess what? We have awesome partners. We hit our partners up. They said, heck yeah, we'll make it happen. Because they actually care. And that's why we're partnered with people like Barbell, is because we can do more, and they have an awesome product, and they're great people. And it's the same with Hoist. Hoist was the other half of what made this happen. As you can see, we drank Hoist for 103 hours out on the course. If that doesn't prove to you that Hoist is a good hydration supplement, well, I don't know how else to daggone prove it to you. We're trying to give you options to spend your money on stuff that actually works, and to know that you're contributing to a company like Hoist that has good American values. That's what our partnerships are all about. So if you think we're just trying to sell you something, understand how you benefit from that. It's the same with Patreon. I don't know if you guys don't realize or not, but we are not independently wealthy, nor is that our objective to be. So in order for us to have the resources to do the things that we do, it's a collective effort. And that's what Patreon's all about. And we try to give back over there. So check out our partner at drinkhoist.com. Get you some daggone Hoist. And you can be like me. Maybe. And go watch the film on Patreon. Or just wait till it comes out on YouTube. I don't give a crap what you do.
When does it come out on YouTube?
July 1st.
How about that?
I don't freaking give a crap what you do, man. I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to help y'all. Whatever. I have an important announcement. Is everybody listening on YouTube?
Yeah, we got probably like 100 on here.
Okay, I have an important announcement, YouTube. Toyota just announced they are about to release a brand new Land Cruiser, Toyota Land Cruiser here in America. All right. We don't know when that's coming, but it's coming out. Now, no one in this room is going to be able to afford to buy the new Toyota Land Cruiser. It's going to be cool to look at. I'm going to really like to see what they come up with, but none of us are going to be able to afford to buy it. So I have found a 1997 FJ80 for sale, Toyota Land Cruiser, that I need you guys, YouTube, I need you to convince Blake to let me go buy that Toyota Land Cruiser FJ80.
I'll tell you what, it's 20 grand. Somebody just drop it in the super chat here. We'll go get it.
Yeah, this is $20,000. All right. So somebody can drop a $20,000 super chat, or somebody can ask Blake to give me permission to go and buy this Land Cruiser, because I'm not going to be able to afford the new one. The reason that we need this, Chili needs a Land Cruiser. I already have one. Chili needs one for this new show we're about to start for you guys on Land Cruiser one of these years, called Paranormal Land Cruiser Experience. It's going to blow your socks off. But we've got to have more than just one Land Cruiser, because the one that I have is going to be broke down half the time. So we need this FJ80, which is a newer model, so I can hop in and we can continue the show when we're doing it.
Yeah, but I have a scooter.
Well, yeah, but that's not going to get you into some of the places that we're going to have to go to do this show.
Well, sure
man.
it is.
No.
Yeah, you don't think that,
we're going,
you don't think that can fit into a tighter space than a Land Cruiser?
Hey, buddy, we got to go deep. We're going deep. All right,
can't just ride with you.
Well, we're going to go so deep. We're going to need 2 Land Cruisers.
The problem with them Land Cruisers is you got to have multiple because they're always breaking down.
Well, technically, Chad don't even have a Land Cruiser right now.
He owns one, but he don't have
I got the
possession
title
of
for
it.
one.
Yeah, I mean,
I got the title for
that
one.
don't do you much good, man.
He sits in there and rubs his title on the couch. Look, he's got the VIN memorized.
He rubs it.
Are they telling you we should go buy this thing, Blake? I mean,
No, everybody's saying Land Cruisers are junk. Trash them.
holy smokes, man.
Land
All
Cruisers suck.
Junk.
That was the most important announcement I had on this podcast. We can actually go ahead and wrap it up now.
Well, it fell flat.
That's because you guys are so lame. I mean, well, okay. What do you guys want to talk about today? Do you guys have any announcements?
What are you talking about?
Y'all just sit there like lumps
dude.
on a freaking log.
No, it fell flat with your listeners, not us. Why are you
guys just
dude, why are you lashing out at us?
You guys just hanging me out to dry here, man.
How's that?
Do y'all have any announcements? Do you guys have any announcements, okay? Before we get into the conversation.
No, you're the announcer.
Gosh,
You
you
sit
guys
down and
suck,
you make
man.
this list. Look, we got Beebs on here.
Daggone, what's up, Beebs? All right.
Justin Bieber?
No.
Who's
Brandon
Biebs?
Price. I grew up with Brandon Price. So when I was in high school, I was on this work program where I was able to leave.
Back when you worked.
Yeah. Well, I don't even think I actually worked. I just got on this work program in high school because I was so bad at high school. I only had to take like 2 classes a day, and then I got to leave school at like noon to go work, right? So back then I was driving a Toyota. Oh, what a coincidence. A 1998 Toyota Tacoma extended cab. And Beebs, drop in the comments what all was in the back of that Toyota in the little extended cab portion.
I think there's a character limit on this.
Because I used to, so this Toyota, it was a nice truck, but I destroyed my vehicles back then. I chewed tobacco. I'd spit in the floor of the truck and, all this stuff. And so I would leave school at noon. Well, Beebs, I don't think Beebs was on the work program, but he wanted to leave school too, right? Well, there was a gate guard at the front of the school that would like monitor who was coming in and going out. And so Beebs would crawl in the back of my extended cab Toyota truck, which there's not a lot of room back there. He would lay down and he would cover himself completely in the garbage that I had in the back of that truck. And he would hide underneath all that garbage until we got through the gate. And then he would emerge and then jump up in the front seat. I'm pretty sure one time I used to eat, back then I was real poor back then. And like the main thing, if you were going to eat, I was real poor. Like, all right, if you wanted to,
High school.
if you wanted to eat out, okay, let's say you wanted to eat out, like the nicest place you could afford to eat out at was Subway, right? So I would get me, every now and then, I would get me one of these tuna Subway sandwiches. And
The worst one.
I'd get the foot long. I'd eat half of it, and I'd throw the other half in the back and plan on eating it later. Well, I think I've forgotten one time, and I remember Beebs found one back there that had been back there for like a couple months. I'm pretty sure when he unwrapped it in the oxygen, the air hit the old sandwich. I think it just spontaneously burst into mold. It's this weird mold that was growing in the back of that truck. So, tell them, Beebs.
I remember back when I was in elementary school, I was real poor. I didn't have no money back in 3rd grade.
Tell them, Beebs. Well, I can already tell my co-hosts are going to be very difficult today. They're not in the mood to be on a podcast, but
not true.
We're going to try to get them to talk about a few things because there's a lot of freaking weird stuff going on right now in the world. Has been for, well, really since the middle of 2020. We are living in a really weird world right now. And I want to talk about some of the weird crap that's going on, all right? And Chili's got a lot of insight on this stuff. He's kind of the master of weird things, if you guys haven't known that or learned that by this time. You know, it's really, I was looking here at how the Bible ends, how the Holy Bible ends. All right, and we're going to get to that here in just a second, but I want to talk about this article that was very interesting to me, and it's going to lead us in to Chili explaining to me what this stinking Chat GPT is, because I keep hearing about it. This is an article that I saw on Instagram, and it caught my eye. This is basically a senior World Economic Forum advisor. Have you read this article, Chili?
I don't think so.
Senior World Economic Forum advisor Yuval Noah Harari, a homosexual Israeli author and historian. All right. We're going to read what he came out with. Do you know anything about this guy?
I know a lot about him, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to read this article, and I want you to tell me about him, all right, Chili? And also, I want you to tell me about what the World Economic Forum even is. All right? But let me tell you what this guy has said here. This guy, Yuval Noah Harari, he's considered by many to be one of the most influential intellectuals in the world today. His statements are taken quite seriously by millions around the world and should not be merely brushed off as heretical by Christians. His books have sold over 45 million copies worldwide, and he's been recommended to society by some of the largest names on the planet, including Barack Obama, Bill Gates, and other influential figures. Now, let me get into what this guy is saying here. We're going to get into some quotations from him here in just a second. He's basically bringing up the concept of correcting the Bible. All right? During a recent interview with journalist Pedro Pinto in Portugal, Harari discussed the idea of using emerging technology such as artificial intelligence to create new ideas that are correct. All right. This is a quotation starting now from Harari. It's the first technology ever that can create new ideas. You know, the printing press, radio, television, broadcast, they spread the ideas created by the human brain and by the human mind. They cannot create any new idea. All right. We're going to keep reading here.
I like the voice you read, the voice you give him.
Here we go.
It's good.
Gutenberg printed the Bible in the middle of the 15th century. The printing press printed as many copies of the Bible as Gutenberg instructed it to, but it did not create a single new page, continues Harari. It had no ideas of its own about the Bible. Is it good? Is it bad? How to interpret this? How to interpret that? AI can create new ideas. It can even write a new Bible, Harari declares. Throughout history, religions dreamt about having a book written by superhuman intelligence, by a non-human entity. In a few years, there might be religions that are actually correct. Just think about a religion whose holy book is written by AI. That could be reality in a few years. Interesting. Very interesting. And that leads me to how does the Holy Bible end? This book in which this intellectual, seemingly very influential person, Harari, his comments basically suggesting that AI is actually going to develop the first religion based upon truth and rewrite the Bible. When we look at the Bible, in the very last, let me read you the very last 3 verses in the Holy Bible. And if any man shall take away from the words of this book, of this prophecy, God shall take away his part out of the book of life and out of the holy city, and from the things which are written in this book. Interesting. That's verse 19. Verse 20 says, he which testifies these things saith, surely I come quickly. Amen. Even so, come, Lord Jesus. The grace of our Lord Jesus Christ be with you all. Amen. So, in the third to last verse of the Bible, it ends by saying, anyone who do you think, do you think there's just some weird crap happening, and I think a lot of the stuff happening now has context biblically. Now, all of you guys are going to say, oh, well, you can't predict when the end of the age is coming. I agree with you completely. But we have the responsibility as Christians to look around us at the environment that is and say, do the things that are happening have any context biblically? And I think many things are happening. So, Chili, please tell me about this World Economic Forum, this Harari, and what do you think about this, man? Tell me about this guy.
Well, I mean, I don't have a whole lot to say. I mean, you've all know Harari has been around a long time, and the World Economic Forum has as well. And
what is that?
Klaus Schwab. Everyone kind of knows who that is now, or a lot of people do. From he wrote the book, The Great Reset, that got everybody fired up. And the World Economic Forum. I mean, basically, it's just. It's essentially an extension of a globalist type, a global organization like the United Nations, that's not tied to any specific country. It's really just a unification of them all. Mm-hmm. And the World Economic Forum it's just basically a group like that tied in with other groups like that has goals in mind for global unification. And are
they pretty powerful?
I think
influential.
I think whenever you're talking about, whenever we use the word they a lot,
yeah,
and we say they want to do this and they control the media and all that, I don't like using the term they because who are you talking about? But if you actually talked about who owns the media, the World Economic Forum has money shuttled to it from all countries, the U.S. being a primary funder, the United Nations same way. So they've got, tons of money and can put it to where they want, and individual billionaires will fund the World Economic Forum and the United Nations. That's where like George Soros' name gets thrown out a lot, Bill Gates' name, people who have accrued a ton of wealth and then give it to where they see fit. A lot of their money goes to organizations like that, which the World Economic Forum's main agendas and the United Nations main agendas, they all line up. And if you read the United Nations Agenda 2030 Plan for Sustainable Development, I think it's officially called, like, you can read their 17 goals that they put on their website and everything. It's, it's generally like the goals are something that they would broadcast. You'd be like, well, why is this evil? What's wrong with it? I mean, the goals being, number one, end world hunger. Number two, end poverty. Number three, stuff like that. I don't know all 17 goals or whatever, but it's like, take care of the ocean, take care of the land, end inequality or all that, It's like, well, none of that's really sounds bad. I mean, I'm not against ending world hunger or whatever, but then you actually read about how they want to do it. And both of these organizations want to decrease the world's population. That's eugenics, right? They want to mess with the gene pool kind of, and then they want to drastically decrease the world population. And they also want a lot of these sustainable development plans for to basically end poverty and all these financial goals. How, the goal itself is not bad, right? That sounds good to me. End homelessness and poverty and hunger. Like, that sounds great. But how they want to do it is reduce the world population, and the UN is slowly buying all kinds of land in America and really all over the world. Like huge swaths of land. I mean, apartment buildings, they're buying all of them. Just any available land, they're buying it all. Which will eventually lead, 2030 will be, that's 7 years from now. A lot will have changed by then already, and it'll be very hard to purchase any private land because it'll already be owned by, these huge conglomerates. It's all tied to those organizations, really. And at that point, you will be forced to move into mega cities, like these hubs,
Smart cities,
right? I've told you about before. So basically, you'll be concentrated into one local area, like one small area. So it'll be way less people, ideally, and then all the people that are not very spread out. They're centralized,
easier to control,
right? And how all of this is tied in together. It's like a lot of people see all this crazy stuff going on. They're like, man, these pandemics, it's crazy. And then also like crazy stuff with these aliens and crazy stuff with the government's doing this and unification and crazy stuff with the World Economic Forum and the climate agenda and wars and all of this. And they, I think people are confused about how it's all tied together, but that's kind of it's not beautiful, but the beauty of of how the plan works together is like all of that is working towards the one goal of moving you into those places and the control. Like how AI would play into that is this needs to be a smart city, which would be run by artificial intelligence. So
yeah.
So everything could plug into the network, the Internet of Things, and your appliances in your home or your apartment or whatever you lived in, your commune, would be all run by AI. Like it'd be a smart refrigerator and a smart this and a smart that and a smart home, and you're already plugged into all these devices and everything's monitored, everything's tracked, everything's shared. It's like you wouldn't really own anything. Like eventually in this smart city, well, if you're all concentrated down, why would you need a vehicle? Everything would be pretty close and you could just use public transportation.
And it's all plugged into the same network.
Right, and it would be plugged in the same network. So you wouldn't have freedom of movement to go where you want to go, and you could go where the public transit was taking you. So whenever I start talking about this stuff, I get really rambly, but effectively I've tried to stay with what your question was, like what are those organizations, and that's essentially what they're trying to do. And I think it fits perfectly in with all of the stuff happening. Like, to me, it doesn't seem confusing at all. It doesn't seem like several random crazy events. It seems like it's all perfect.
Yeah.
And then you all know Harari. He's just, honestly, yeah, he's a eugenicist, according to what he says. He wants all of those goals that I just said. He doesn't seem to be... I don't know how these guys get picked or how they emerge into the positions they're in, but he's just a guy moving this agenda forward. Really, it's all that matters.
That's a real interesting part, and I'm about to kick it over to Tech Guy here in just a second. But when you ask I heard someone ask a question on a podcast the other day. In relation to all of this conversation that we're having. Where is the head of the snake?
Yeah.
Like, it seems that there is not one. Well, like when you ask that question, who's the head of the snake? Like, one has not emerged. It's really, really strange.
I think it's more effective that there's not a head of a snake, because if there was one, you could cut it off.
Exactly.
But if there's not a real head, it's just kind of a formation of, of it all together. Like, you can't cut it off, because you could go, Harari could disappear, or Klaus Schwab could just disappear and be gone. He could die, if he passed away. It wouldn't change anything. Right. It would be a real problem for that agenda if that was the case.
Yeah. So
it's really stronger in that there isn't a head.
Yeah.
For what it's trying to, for the goals that I've just laid out, really. Mm-hmm. It would be much more vulnerable and weak if it depended on one individual.
Yep, I agree.
But also I wanted to say too that a lot of the things that people see, I want to be clear about this. When they see things, because a lot of this stuff I've just said, it's just because I've read it. It's not my own brain. It's not anybody. I've read where this is goals that they've detailed out. But I want to be clear too, that just because you read something, or because I've read something that one of these organizations has laid out that they want to accomplish, and you have to be careful that you're not reading something that is essentially a controlled oppositional piece of writing or something. And what I mean by that is, there's been individuals throughout history that say a World Economic Forum would trot out this guy that really comes out against them and says they're doing all this crazy stuff, and it really rallies people up. And basically all they're doing is using that guy to whip everybody up, fire everybody up, get people angry, get people potentially fighting and killing each other in the streets. and it's all based off of a lie that they use to control their opposition. Does that make sense?
100%. Yeah.
So you have to be careful reading these things critically and think just because they even say that they're doing some of this, they may not actually be. You have to be, I don't know. Sometimes people make the logical fallacy of saying, well, if something is written down, it must be true, or that's not That's
No,
not.
it could be an intentional psyop.
Of course.
Yeah,
It certainly could.
I think people think that that's way out there, but I want you to understand that the U.S. military has been doing things exactly like that in foreign countries
Yeah.
for decades and decades, right?
Yeah.
It's a very simple, intentional psyop to achieve the goals that they want to achieve. That's a tactic.
Yeah.
A very old tactic. There's nothing special about that.
No, and it would be, and just to let people know how easy that would be, and yet how powerful it would be, like a big public figure, like a member of Congress or something, could easily come out or pay somebody to, threaten to attack them online or something and cause them harm. And that would be an example of that. Like, people would freak out, and it would make people feel a different way about that congressman. It would make people feel, it would change people's perception of them, and it was just because they paid somebody off to do that. Like, that could happen. That's just an example in my mind. I may not have explained that well, but like, that stuff can happen all the time. You have to be very careful what you trust. Mm-hmm. I would say trust nothing off of just hearing it or reading it, even if it's somebody's own admission to something. Like, you have to be clear that anything could be misleading. And that can drive you crazy, but it's the truth.
Guys, the whole reason that I'm even having this conversation about these specific topics is because I believe they relate very, very well to biblical prophecy.
Well, I was going to say
that's the whole reason.
There's a question here. Filberto Rodrigo, who says that's not his real name, but Phil will do.
What's up, Filberto?
He says this conversation is not very biblical or sensical. It sounds like a bunch of children talking about things they don't understand. and he had earlier asked, as a Christian, why are we burdening ourselves with these, which I think is a fair question to ask, what you were about to answer. And then he finishes his next comment with, again, as Christians, why is our purpose to discuss the devil's plan?
Filberto, who else is going to warn people about what is actually happening?
Well,
the literally the Bible calls you to be an ambassador for Christ, but it also tells you to watch, pay attention to the signs that are happening around you. It tells you to do that. And the unique thing, whenever the end of the age comes, the only people who are going to actually understand what is happening are the people who know what the Bible says is happening. That's the only people who are going to actually know what's happening. Why is it important? For the only people that have the answers to why are the things that are happening in the order that they are and what is coming, if we as Christians are the only people who can make sense of all this bullcrap because we know where it's leading to, and then we don't have conversations around it, we don't warn the world about it, we don't put that word out, son, I don't want to be standing in front of God the Father on the last day of judgment and him say, why did you not tell the lost people of the world what was happening when you saw it happening and you knew why it was happening and you knew what it was leading to and you knew time was short and you knew all those things, but you chose to turn a blind eye and not pay attention and remain ignorant and not burden yourself because you're too stinking lazy to study your Bible. You're too stinking lazy to pay attention to what the crap's happening in the world. You're too stinking much of a coward to go out and talk about these things so that people can be prepared. I want you to understand, I'm not talking about this crap because I think that it's just some thing that's fun to talk about. I'm talking about this crap because I genuinely believe this crap is about to come to an end, and I want you to see that, and I want you to be ready for what is coming. I'm not playing a game here, man. What do you think about all this, Blake?
Well, I think what you were saying earlier, how it's where's the head of the snake, and
Satan is the head of the snake.
Exactly.
That's why we can't see him.
Exactly.
That's what we cannot. That's who's driving all these people. He's possessing these people, and they're carrying out his will.
Yeah, exactly. That's why we can't see the head of the snake, and that's who it is. And I think also that's why it is so attractive to a lot of people, right? People love this alien thing, but you have two sides. Often there's the middle ground is usually the correct ground, but you have the people who are just intrigued by it, and everything they study is about aliens and about all, they're just essentially worshiping this. They're trying to get to the bottom of this. And then you have people who say, crap on that, aliens ain't real, I ain't studying that. And both sides are wrong, but where in the middle, what lies is seeking out the truth, like you're talking about here, and exposing it for what it is, making sense of it, and warning people. And I mean, that's, to me, that if we can do anything, that's what we should be doing, is exactly what the conversation we're having here.
We are increasingly becoming the only people on earth, that being the body of Christ. We are increasingly becoming the only segment of humanity who can clear up some dang confusion for people. That we're becoming the only segment of humanity who can actually state things that are true in order to decrease the chaos in the minds of lost people. We have to leverage what is happening in the world with what we know is said in the Bible. We have to leverage that knowledge that we have in the time that we live in, or else you and I and every one of us who says that we follow Christ will be held accountable for our cowardice and for our willful ignorance. This ain't no freaking game, Filberto, this ain't no game, buddy. Now, in all of this, yes, don't lose the message of the gospel. Don't lose love. Don't lose every other thing that we should strive to do in order to be more conformed into the likeness of Christ himself. But Christ is the one. Go read Matthew. What is it? Matthew 24. Go read Matthew 24. Christ devoted an entire chapter in the Holy Bible to talking about these things. As a matter of fact, Christ devoted an entire book of the Bible plus a lot more to talking about these exact things. If he didn't want us to have these conversations, why would he have wasted so much space in his word, literal, his inspired word, to write these things for us? It's important, man.
Yeah, and it's part of the gospel. Like, you can't, you say don't forget about the gospel. That's true, but the gospel actually means good news. For there to be good news, there has to be bad news. So it is all inclusive and all intermingled, and it's a part that's left out of the gospel. So yes, keep doing what you know to do is right as it pertains to the gospel and to the Bible, but also don't neglect these things that we're talking about here.
And you know what? Just like I made this post the other day about the whole extraterrestrial thing. And there's so many comments on there of people saying, "Oh, people been predicting the last days for all this, and nothing's changed. Just shut up." You're fulfilling biblical prophecy. The Bible actually says there are going to be scoffers in the last days that say things have been the same for what. I wish I had the verse handy. It literally says in the last days there are going to be scoffers, and you're going to be talking about all this stuff, and they're going to discredit you by saying, oh, this crap's been going on forever. Your comments are fulfilling what the Bible says. Thank you for that. Thank you. Actually, all the opposition that you offer to what we're talking about, every piece of opposition that you offer is just strengthening the biblical case for what we are saying. So thank you.
2 Peter 3:3 is where that's at. It says, knowing this first, that scoffers will come in the last days, walking according to their own lust, and saying, where is the promise of his coming? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of creation.
Come on.
For this they willfully forget that by the word of God the heavens were of old, and the earth standing out of water and in the water.
Thank you. Thank you for fulfilling that biblical prophecy. Scoffers.
Filberto wants to be sure that that what he didn't mean any offense by that, and that he brought, kind of brought this topic up.
Filberto, I'm not offended, brother. I love you, man. I love you. I'm glad you brought that part of the conversation up, because you got me more fired up than I probably would have been if you wouldn't have brought that up, man.
Well, and he did say that it sounds like children, and I'll say that that's because we've had Chad kicked it over to me, and I'm severely cognitively limited. I don't know if you've gathered that before, Filberto, but that the onus would be on me for that. But I don't know. I think a lot of these strange global organizations are confusing to people. But I think a lot of information is just missing in people's, like, they don't know about them. You know what I mean? I think that's the biggest thing, is not many people know about all that's going on. They know a little bit enough, like they hear in the news that a hot air balloon got shot down, and they hear that something happened in Ukraine, and they hear something, but like they don't really.
They're not putting the pieces together.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get that, man. And I want you to talk just a little bit about the implications and just a little bit about what this Chat GPT is, Chili, because I don't want any part of it, man. But I think there's some severe implications to it. By the way, I want to share another verse with you guys before I kick this over to Chili. Romans 1:22 through 25, professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. Does that ring a bell to any of you guys? Professing themselves, humans, professing themselves to be wise, they became fools and changed the glory of an uncorruptible God into the image made by corruptible man. I'm telling y'all, man, what is this thing, Chili?
Well, I don't have much to say about it, but I guess I said that last time and I talked for 15 minutes, but I want to go back first to what you said Harari said about it, because ChatGPT is basically just an artificial intelligence chat bot, basically, that you can have a conversation with, and you want to talk about being cognitively limited. I mean, I am severely cognitively limited about rather basic things, and this seems to be extremely complex.
Well, you've been using it.
Oh, yeah, I've fooled around with it. I had to know what it is.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's way out of my depth. I mean, because I don't even know what it is. I'm like, okay, artificial intelligence, that basically doesn't mean anything to me. I'm not even able to understand what that even means. I mean, those are just words. I'm like...
Well, the name artificial means it's not real.
Well, yeah, but like what all it's doing and stuff, I can grasp what the word artificial and intelligence means. But I'm saying, like... I don't know what the freaking internet is, man. Like, I don't know what that is. I can't explain the internet or how it works. It's what the crap even is it?
If you gave me 100 years and $100 billion, I couldn't come up with the internet.
No, I mean, what are you even talking about? Like, it's you can just plug in some random question into Google and it'll spit out the answer. I mean, that doesn't even make any sense. But anyway, from my understanding, which I just crapped on, is that this artificial intelligence is using all of the data that's ever been inputted onto the internet, or all that it has been given, and it can formulate sentences back to you. It can basically have a conversation like a human can. And so you can use it for things like, essentially as Google, you can say, hey, what happened in this time, and it would spit out an answer. But you can say, write me an essay in the voice of Donald Trump that's 500 pages, that's 500 words long, and is about the war in Ukraine and Russia. And it would do it. And it would be, there's probably some problems with it, but it's unbelievably adept at doing that. I mean, it's crazy. And you can,
I heard a guy tell me he uses it to respond to text messages and emails.
Sure. I mean, yeah, like if you had to write out a long email about a certain topic, or deliver some kind of if you were a student in high school and you were given an assignment, write a 3-page essay on the War of 1812 and the implications it had, you could literally type that prompt into Chat GPT and it would spit something out that's pretty dang good. And even if you didn't use it exactly, you could go in and tweak it. It would just do the brunt work of the work for you, and then you could tweak it. I mean, it's a really strange tool. Like, I don't know of anything that's been created or released to the public that's able to do that, because Google can't do that. The internet can't. You can't do that.
Yeah.
But this, but going back to what Harari said about it, like basically it could create a new religion or new Bible. Basically,
that's actually correct.
That's actually correct. Which, first of all, that phrase in that is very odd.
Yeah.
But even the whole premise of it basically being unconnected to humans and unfettered by humans. I mean, humans created the internet. Humans have created ChatGPT. Humans have created artificial intelligence.
I wonder, have they really?
Well,
as far as we know.
Well, I mean, what I'm saying is like the hardware and everything that's been created by people, right? I mean, one invention led to the other, that led to the other, that led to the iPhone, that led to ChatGPT. So what I'm saying is everything in it, everything that it's doing is a product of how it's been programmed. Mm-hmm. It's just like the world, right? This whole world couldn't have been here without a designer, right? Without a creator. Okay, so ChatGPT didn't spontaneously generate. It was created by a designer. Some of these scientists.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Right? So when he's saying it could spit out a new religion or a new Bible that's unfettered by humans or whatever, how? All it would produce is a collection, an amalgamation of all the religions that are, all the text that's out there, all the data that's been given to it. So first of all, I reject his premise. I mean, I reject the whole foundation of what his argument is that it would create something supernatural that's not touched by humans.
Yeah.
All the data that ChatGPT has is human created.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't even know what he's getting at by that. And then, like, to me, people run with this AI stuff in a strange direction. Like, they get very scared by it and very scared about it doing something that like becomes out of human control. But
I'm afraid that it's going to make humans absolutely stupider than they already are.
Well, that's
the one part that I fear.
Well, that's a much more reasonable thing than like thinking it's going to run wild,
become self-aware.
Yeah, I mean, how would it?
That's what happened in the Terminator.
Yeah, nobody. Which a lot of those movies I think are like kind of foreshadowing for what's to come, because people don't realize when that movie was created and when The Matrix was created and all these movies, this stuff hasn't really come after that. This stuff was already in the works way back then, like more so than people realize. But anyway, the artificial intelligence, it can only do what it's been programmed to do, essentially.
Well, there are possibilities, like if you want to speculate on the extreme level, it's very reasonable for me to think that at some point in the near future, there will be information that is released that says this technology was not actually propagated by humans. This technology was actually propagated by these beings that we have been communicating with. That's how all this stuff happens so fast. That's how the internet exists. That's how this AI exists. This technology was not thought of and designed by humans. It was carried out by humans, but the actual information and technology has been passed down to us by beings that are otherworldly, right? And again, that's speculation. But in that case, Harari's statement would then have credibility.
Well, and if you want to get into that, they have talked about some of the ways that they have obtained the technology that they have to this point, and they have talked about it being through. It's usually the mechanism is usually a psychedelic experience.
Yeah,
and they have gotten in touch with. According to these people, like, see, if you've never done what they've done, or like, I don't know how you even know what they're even talking about. Like, I don't even know what they mean when they say they talk to a being. I mean, you would think.
Well, they're actually doing studies now where they're taking groups of people. They're giving them
ayahuasca,
a psychedelic trip,
DMT,
and all of the people separately are communicating with the same beings, and they're coming out of the trip with the same information.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, there's really no such thing as like a mass hallucination, because a hallucination is unique to the person that's having it.
It would be formulated by your brain.
Right.
Yeah.
You cannot have the same I'm using that word carefully, hallucination as somebody else. If we both somehow hallucinated right now, there's no possible way that we were seeing the same thing. The only way
receiving the same information.
Right. The only way that would be the case is if we saw the same exact thing and received the same information, is if it wasn't actually a hallucination, it was basically like a peek into another realm. And so that, yes, potentially, if the technology that they're obtaining is through taking psychedelic experiences and then getting information from some off-world another dimension entity, well then yeah, like that's not that then the origin of the information would not be humans. We would be the vessel, but we would not be the origin. So actually it would come from
I of course in my speculative mind, I believe that will eventually happen. Now whether that information, when that's propagated, whether it's a lie or whether it's true, it doesn't matter, because it's going to be pushed as truth. Everyone's going to believe it, and then they're going to take whatever comes from this artificial intelligence, from this technology. Humanity are going to take whatever comes from that, and they're going to take it as the gospel, essentially, the truth.
Well, what argument would it be because say the scenario that you played out happens and they come out and admit that that's where they got the technology and that's where the information came from, what would be the explanation of what gave them the information? Because I see no way of looking at that and calling that anything but a demon.
Well, Christians know what it is.
But I'm saying
the Bible tells us
what would the explanation be?
Their explanation?
Yeah, because
it would be a higher life form somewhere in the universe that they've accessed.
Alien.
Yeah, an alien. Yeah.
But the interesting thing about that is, I don't know, like, I don't know. I mean, it seems clear what that would have to be, but.
Well, it seems clear to someone who's looking at what is happening through the lens of the Bible.
Well, and that's where Project Bluebeam comes in that you mentioned earlier. Maybe.
Yeah, a lot of people commented about that on that post I made. Well, I've never heard of it before.
Well, that's okay. Project Bluebeam. I hate when I miss somebody's name, and I may not mess it up, but I might. I think it's Serge Monast.
Sounds right.
Well,
That's his name on the 307 podcast.
yeah, that's probably close enough to where you could. I freaking hate if I don't get someone's name right, but I think, he was like a Canadian journalist and investigative journalist, and he was labeled a conspiracy theorist, and I mean, he's got some pretty far out there stuff, but he died sometime before 2000, sometime in the 1900s, and he kind of propagated, to my knowledge, kind of propagated that idea of Project Bluebeam, that it was a government plan to ultimately fake like an alien invasion, and then basically the solution to that would be the government basically coming forward with information that they've got from other aliens or some type of thing, and like, hey, you got to listen to this. This is the answer to this problem. This is the answer to this threat that's coming on humanity. You've got to move into these. It goes with exactly what I said earlier. You've got to move into these cities that are more controlled, safe, and listen and go by what this is saying. So it goes that I mentioned earlier how it all goes hand in hand. I mean, that fits perfectly with all of that other stuff that seemed totally unrelated earlier. And it goes with the climate agenda and all of it. But so that's essentially what Project Bluebeam is. And I want to be clear too. When you read about what he wrote about Project Bluebeam, don't just read that and be like, boom, that's it. That's the answer. Like that dude could be someone that was totally paid by somebody, used by these organizations to create that theory that's actually a diversion off of what they're actually doing. That's what I was mentioning earlier. Be clear about that. But you can look at the world, you can look at the ramp up in the alien stuff and see that something is going on. That's what I've talked about before on the podcast and other episodes. Like,
You've been saying it for years.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. The only truth the only thing that you can read and take for truth is in the Holy Bible. That's it. Just like Chili's saying. You got it. What's up, Chill?
But yeah, that's the artificial intelligence thing. So I mean, if I don't know that they're going to come out and say that's where it came from. I don't know. I can't say that they got it, that this has been produced based off of. I mean, there's definitely lots of talk about that and lots that has went into that. And like you said, these studies have proven that there's something to those substances that is getting you in contact with something or seemingly something. So that's not just some crackpot thing. So they very well may come out and say that. Mm-hmm. It would fit along with if you wanted to stage some cataclysmic event and then say, hey man, we've got this information from these people, look here, you've seen what Chat GPT can do. You've seen what artificial intelligence can do. That's what's going to save us from this. You've got to listen.
Yep.
That could happen. That could certainly happen.
Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. What do you have on any of this, Blake? You've been watching the chat.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much. I mean, I can't say much of any truth other than it all is based kind of in fear. This is all projected in fear, from the powers that be.
Fear is the great controller.
Yep. And we know that fear is a lie and it's from Satan, and so it's pretty easy to see kind of where things are coming from. So, as far as the chat, we've actually got a lot of new listeners in on this podcast. So,
what is up, new listeners? Thanks
Justin
for being here.
Sheely's on here. He's asking.
That's right up Justin's alley.
Yep, he loves it. He's asking about the Nephilim.
Justin's smart. We had a conversation on Resurrected about Genesis 6 just the other day. Y'all think all this extraterrestrial crap and conversation is anything new? This happened thousands of years ago. It's already happened.
Yeah, I think it's because the confusion is a lot of the aliens, that term has been used to mean something within this universe, but not of the earth.
Yep.
But it seems like there's not much mention of interdimensional, quote unquote, aliens.
Yep.
Right.
Yep, you're exactly right. It's all the confusion's based around the language.
Interdimensional or other realms. I don't even know what I use a lot of words. I don't know what they mean. Like dimension, I kind of loosely know what I mean by that, but it basically is like another realm. I mean, like we exist, God exists, but he doesn't exist in the same physical realm that we do, like we do.
Yeah.
So like that's what I mean by that. There's a separation.
Well, we see that's
that we possess, some kind of thing that we as humans can't overcome,
Yeah.
like this.
But if we look at Genesis 6, we see that these beings can actually take bodily form and enter into the dimension that we are aware of and actually interact with humanity in the most intimate ways, sexually, to actually reproduce offspring. Well, that's what we see in Genesis 6. So, there you go. It's already all happened, man. And what happened when it happened in Genesis 6? What happened immediately after, Blake?
The flood.
The earth was destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's going to happen after it happens this time? Everything's going to be destroyed.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. Anything else from the chat worth talking about?
I mean, you can get as deep as you want into this stuff. People, Robert Frost asking about Project Looking Glass. I'm sure that's another
I don't
heard
know.
of that.
project like Blue Beam or something.
I don't know much about that.
I think that's where they're talking about shutting down all the lighthouses.
That's Alice through the Looking Glass.
Well, all right then. Well, I'm going to remind you guys what is going to happen to all these people. I'm going to read some more truth to you. Let me remind you what's going to happen to all these people, like this feller. What was his name with the World Economic Forum?
Yuval Noah Harari.
Yeah. Let me remind
He
you
is from Uvalde, actually.
this is what's going to happen to all these people. And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondsman, and every freeman hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains. And they said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. Nuff said.